everybody, it's gonna be Bridget with 2 T's and an E at the end, and I'm not from Guilty Dear, back with another video. And I know I usually don't get videos out so soon, but y'all are going crazy on my newest one. I mean, like, 5K views in the first week, 400 subscribers, so many nice comments, as always. It's just making me want to keep on doing stuff. So here I am. I do want to preface with the fact that this video is going to be a lot less, I guess, useful than most of my videos. I usually try to have like a lot more like positive videos that are more informational, but this one will be a little negative at points just because it kind of does go into my history about depression and other bad stuff. So, you know, I'll put up a viewer discretion in a second. If you don't think you can watch this video, that is completely okay. It's probably going to be a bit longer anyway and go on some tangents because it is a lot more for me than anything else. It's a very personal thing I want to talk about. But I hope that you guys might be able to find something to like relate to in the video, or, you know, maybe see yourself in my shoes and hopefully use this as like a framework, like, wow, it does get better. That's really just what I hope to accomplish with this video. Thank you all so much for your support, except for the guy who told me I killed myself a few days ago. That guy kind of sucks. But to everybody else, for every hate comment I get like 60 insanely sweet positive comments saying like I inspired them or made them want to keep on doing stuff, and that makes me so happy. So just thank you all so much. And without further ado, let's get into it. All right, you guys gotta bear with me. Just one more note. I kind of wrote 21 pages of script for this video, and I kind of want to use it. So apologies if my eyes are ever going down here. I promise this all came from the heart. But, you know, if I'm not making eye contact, I apologize for that. All right, so as I briefly, brought up in the intro, I like this place to be a very positive area on YouTube. I feel like when I was a lot earlier in my transition, and, even sometimes nowadays even, I'll go to certain channels and try finding, information about makeup tips or, ways to like pass better or whatever, because I'm still a little insecure about that, I'm not gonna lie. And it just, I don't know, there's a lot of judgment out there, I feel like, even among trans spaces. Sometimes you just click on a place and you see things about how people are saying things like, you should never expect to pass if you're not putting in all this effort to do this, this, and this. And it's like, dude, like, I'm sorry, but I'm really depressed. I'm trying my best here, So I want this place to be as positive and encouraging of an environment as it can be, while still being realistic. I mean, I'm not going to tell people, fake information, but I try for this place to always be a very positive environment, and basically all my videos reflect that. And I know negativity sells a lot more than positivity, but I don't care about that. I want this place to be an area where you can go to on just the YouTube, just a little section of the internet, and you can always come out with a smile on your face and just feeling better about yourself. Unless you're that one guy who told me to kill myself. So just with that said, again, I really want to hone in that, like, there will be some pretty heavy topics discussed in this video, and I am going to try to keep it short because at the end, this is a positive story. I am a lot happier nowadays and I want to live, which is kind of a weird feeling, but I'll get into that soon. But just, again, if you struggle with any of these topics in the disclaimer, please, please, please do not feel bad to click off. So getting right into this, sorry if the story's a little, fragmented due to some dissociative amnesia, or I think it's called dissociative trauma more so nowadays. I've kind of forgotten most of my life up until the ages of 16 or so I tried to make this as, chronological and understandable as it could be. But if any information later gets, like, retconned, I guess, for lack of better words, that's why, I rediscovered information or found some memories floating around somewhere and it's like, oh, that's how that happened. But this should be pretty understandable, or so I hope so. So I see 16 as really important because 16 is when I really began to start questioning everything about my identity, really. And it also happens to be the year that I discovered I was bisexual. And, you know, even at that point, I still hadn't been able to put a great timeline of like memories or events together about my identity that I felt were important to discovering my transness until I was like, I'd say 19, I think. As back then, I mean, you know, I live in the south of the US, and there's of course way worse places I could be in, and I'm very grateful to be in the US in the first place, even despite all the horrible things going on currently with this administration. But, you know, regardless, it's still in the south of the US, and due to a lot of societal conditioning and familial circumstances and just internalized transphobia, you know, kids are also so cruel. Ugh. Awful. It kind of took me a while to discover my transness because I tried so heavily to repress it because it felt like such a wrong thing to be, you know? It is also really stupid in hindsight because, like, looking back at it, and, you know, of course everything's gonna seem more like, oh, of course, in hindsight, but oh my god, looking back at it, like, I really needed some queer friends, dude, because it does not take a genius to discover that I was trans back then. The amount of, like, jokes I made or just things I said that was like, dude, like, it's so obvious. It was definitely crazy. But it took about until 19 to discover I was actually a trans woman. Even though I would say that most of my memories began around that time though, and especially became vivid at like 19 and 20, when I discovered I was trans and then began transitioning. You know, I do still have a lot of sparse memories just throughout my childhood. And interestingly, the oldest memory I have is, unfortunately, a dysphoric one, but I believe I was like age 2 or 3 at the time, which is kind of crazy for going back that far and having a memory. But I remember I was visiting with my mom to just one of her friends' houses, and her mom had this little girl, and it's so hard to describe dysphoria to a person who doesn't understand it because I don't even understand it, you know? Scientists still don't fully understand it. We don't know why trans people are a thing or even where it comes from or whatever. We kind of just are here. Hi! But, you know, it's so hard to describe it, but I remember just having these really bad feelings of just shame and disgust being around women. And I never felt that way with guys. It was only women. It just always felt like I was being judged by them and that they could tell that there was just something so innately wrong in me, I guess. Or that's how it felt anyway. Of course, you know, growing up, I don't think anybody really realized this. There wasn't really much of a way to tell. But on the inside, it just felt like everybody could just see this gaping hole within me. It's really hard to describe, but the shame and disgust I felt for it was just awful. It was honestly crippling. And I remember just crying because I wanted to be like her so bad, and I wasn't. And as a baby, of course, you know, I didn't have a way to word these things. Even as a kid, I did not have a way to word these things. And that feeling kind of unfortunately stuck with me for all of my life, which is not great for the mental health. You know, I have all these memories of being scolded by like family or, you know, school or whatever it is, just because there were so many times as a little kid where I wanted to like present myself femininely, or I talked about like, wow, it would be nice to be a girl. And it's like, no, you can't do that. Like, you can never be that. And, you know, I'm a little kid. My frame of reference for the entire world is like close family and, you know, maybe some people at school or whatever. So when I hear these vehement denials of this sort of thing, it quickly gets internalized as like, oh, that's a bad thing to like. I'm a bad person for wanting to express myself femininely, and I'm a bad person for wanting to be a girl. Eventually it just kind of gets internalized slowly until you push those thoughts out with this vitriol, like hatred anytime they come by your mind. And it's because of all this conditioning and stuff, and, you know, all this backpedaling on my true identity that I developed really bad social anxiety and what I believed was introvertedness, which it's kind of funny in hindsight because I'm very much not an introvert. You know, I love talking to people. It's just, I felt so gross in my body though, and I felt so ashamed to be me that I didn't ever want to be perceived. A little poetically tragic in hindsight. But the one thing I needed most was the complete opposite of what I did moving forward. As much as I hated being perceived and whatnot, once I got to like middle school and high school and stuff, I especially internalized the fact that, feminine presentation was not an option, like whatsoever for me. Just completely off the table. Not trying it at all. Not for me. I'm the super straight guy, and I would never wear women's outfits. That sort of thing was in my mind. I'm sorry, sometimes I have it in me. Sometimes I can bring out the voice better than other times. But anyways, I had that so deeply internalized in me that I started to think like, oh, this issue of not wanting to be perceived, it's not because I want to be feminine, it's because I feel emasculated. And I did feel emasculated. So I tried to artificially deepen my voice. That is why, as you'll see in a clip I'm gonna put up here real soon.
I think we're good. Okay, yeah, okay. So what you do is, it takes 40 iron to make, right?
Yeah. I really sounded like that, like, pretty much all the time. And I tried to just I tried to remove any type of femininity from myself and put myself in situations where I would not interact with people who would give me that feminine side in life. And I also did not have any woman friends for most of my life. Not because I didn't like women, but because, as I mentioned earlier, just being near them, I always felt like I was doing something wrong. I mean, the issues I talked about before with my gender dysphoria and how ashamed I felt towards women, I eventually began to interpret in a different way as I got older as some sort of internalized misandry, which is still really bad in its own way. And I heard all these stories of people talking about like being like assaulted, or people talking about being creeped on by guys, or all this other stuff. And I was so deathly afraid of making women uncomfortable and that whole sort of shebang. Simply even being near women, I felt super uncomfortable because I thought that they could just see something so wrong in me. So I ended up not really having woman friends. And that also did not help for exploring myself. Because, again, I just thought I would be making them uncomfortable if I tried to be friends with any. So I just tried to masculinize myself as much as I could. And it's pretty obvious to see why that would not work out. And it's so stupid because I have so many vivid memories, like, now having started transitioning and kind of regaining a lot of memories from when I was younger that I repressed a lot. Oh my god, dude. I remember saying the most obvious shit ever. Here is a quote from when I was 14. Paraphrased or whatever. How can girls be depressed? I feel like if I was a girl, like, all my problems would be solved. I don't understand how any woman out there can feel depressed. Goes without saying that that's a very stupid thing to think. But it also kind of gives a glimpse into my mental state at the time, because I so far believed that just being a woman or cross-dressing or whatever was so off the table that it was not a possibility whatsoever. I thought that if you were going to be trans, then you knew that, like, immediately. And if you didn't know it immediately, you found out when you were little. But if I didn't know it at this point, then I'm not trans. It's because of that I had so many thought processes like that, where I was thinking like, wow, life would be so great if I was a girl. Oh well, too bad. Too bad there's nothing I can do about that, right guys? Right guys? And that also just goes to show how deeply rooted my dysphoria is in my overall depression that still unfortunately plagues me today, even though I'm far less of a dysphoric person. So with all that exposition addressed, it was because a lot of those reasons that I used video games as a very big form of escapism, and it was just my biggest hobby for me because I didn't need to think about talking to people in real life and really being like perceived like that, I could hide behind the screen and just be whoever, really. And so by doing that, I eventually met a lot of people online that are some of my best friends ever now. And that's really when I started to seriously think about my identity. And even through some of the hardest times in my life, you know, especially, I mean, everything got 10 times worse during puberty when my body started to change in ways that I cannot take back. And my dysphoria grew with that. Even though I thought it was because it wasn't going fast enough, you know, I had my friends to live for and cheer me up even when I was not living for myself. You know, these people, they got me gifts. I mean, we played games together. They cared about me. They asked me questions, and I just felt safe around them. And this is really when I was like, huh, I wonder if there's something else going on up there. And, you know, despite being in the worst spot ever, physically and mentally at that point in my life, I mean, I was like, I was not doing good for myself. I would say that's about the part of my life when I started to have an uphill. An extremely, extremely slow one. And I was doing really, really bad for many years to come, but I would still say that was the start of the uphill. So going back to the whole thing of bisexuality, when I was 16, I was still trying to figure out the intricacies of that whole ordeal. You know, not to get too into it, but I was having a lot of issues, like, do I like guys and girls? Or what if I'm a girl who just likes guys, and I just think the girls are pretty, and I want to be a girl? Or do I like both guys and girls and there's nothing else to it? Or do I want to be a girl and I still like girls and guys? And there was like 7 other different possibilities going through my mind, like at all points of the day. Just trying to figure out like what was going on about me. Trying to figure out like, what the fuck am I? But, you know, one common theme in most of these ideas were that there was basically no times where I would entertain the idea of actually being a girl. A lot of it was me seeing it as some sort of like perverted sexual fantasy that like, oh, like, you know, you don't really want to be a girl. You just want to use them or whatever, because I so deeply believed that I was being a bad person by simply coexisting with women. So it was just definitely difficult figuring that whole period of time out. After very, very many months, I eventually came to the consensus. I was just bisexual, and
I'm still a man, and nothing is gonna change that about me. I'm still a...
what's the word? Normal. I thought I came to terms with it, but I really didn't. I was still kind of questioning myself for a really long time, and eventually I got to the point where I was like, okay, you gotta stop lying to yourself, dude. Like, there's more than just that. But I was like, okay, how about we take like a little stepping stone first? So I eventually embraced femininity to some degree and became a femboy. And I'd say that was about age 17. So by that point, I was probably questioning myself for a bit over a year, trying to figure out the whole intricacies of the bisexuality thing. But for a while, that label sort of fit well and made me feel nice. You know, I still held a massive disdain for my voice and wished I had a lot of characteristics of woman and all this other stuff, but for then, it was good enough for me, just while I was trying to figure stuff out. And although I did not really get to try very much with like presentation now, again, due to not having any woman friends or having very many friends, period, close to me. Every now and then I got to try some clothing on from my ex-boyfriend who would visit me, and I was like, wow, like this feels incredible. Like, really incredible. It's just like a feeling of like joy like no other. I mean, anybody else who is trans probably has experienced euphoria at some point, and it was just that, really. You know, I looked in the mirror, and while I was still missing so many things that I wanted, just the simplest of things made me so happy. Just like a pink shirt that I wasn't really allowed to have before. Or, you know, wearing like the Amazon Basics skirt and and all the stuff that you see a lot with like baby trans, or, you know, people who are like femboys who are like really new to the style, and they're just trying to find something that will work, you know? They're not really like in depth into feminine fashion and whatever. And even though I made a lot of progress towards understanding myself and my identity, I still had so many, like, really funny, stupid, I shouldn't call them stupid, but, you know, I had a lot of funny little things about my worldview that were still so deeply in my head just because of all my prior conditioning and experiences. Stuff like, despite being a femboy, I wanted to pass as a cisgender woman and voice train, you know, not for any reason. You know, I'm still a guy, I just want to be seen and heard as a woman and be treated like one, but still a guy. Or I believed that every single guy ever also really wants to be a woman, but you know, we all just feel that way around women. We're all just hiding it, right? Right, guys? Right? That thought process led to some awkward moments in Discord VCs. The one that comes to mind always is when I was asking like a big group of my guy friends, I'd say like 4 or 5 of them. I was like, if you guys were a woman, what would your name be? And I had my name picked out immediately, dude. I was like, I think I want to go with like Bridget, Ruby, or Meredith, which were like my 3 main names I was thinking about. And everyone else was like, what? And I was like, come on, guys, like you can say it. Like I'm not gonna make fun of you here. Like, come on, like you know me. And everyone else is like, what are you on about, dude? Oh my god, it's so stupid. But it was a lot of really little interactions just like that, and you know, the thought process before of I still want to be perceived as like a cis woman and whatnot, and all this other stuff that eventually got me on a sort of like line of thinking like, is there a chance I'm trans? And at this point, I was still super, super against it because it's like, I feel like I would know by now. And if I did start transitioning, there's no way my transition would go well, which is really stupid. I was like 17 at the time. Like, dude, like I know I mostly finished male puberty already, but like, you know, there a lot can happen for sure. And the more and more I thought about it, the more I realized a lot of things that were just inexplainable. It seems like I want to dedicate a small section here to just a lot of the things that helped me realize that there was something still going on with me. This one's on by Bring Me the Horizon, Sugar Honey Iced Tea, like shit. It's a really good album, by the way. I just want to say that it's really good. I remember thinking so much about the lyrics. We don't know what we want, but we know that we want it. And that resonated so closely with me because I had friends, I had a partner, I thought I had some form of a college plan. And I was like, I feel like I should be happy. Like, I feel like I have what I want in life. Like, why am I still suicidal? Why am I still so depressed? Like, what's up with me? You know, what's going on? And obviously, it doesn't have to be me being trans, but it was just one of the many things that was adding on to a list of already like 100+ compounding things. It was just making me think like, could this be it? Maybe. I also had like countless dreams where different situations arose where I would just either be a girl or for some reason I had to transition for reasons that were beyond explanation. And you know, in all these dreams, you know, I got referred to with my chosen name and my correct pronouns and whatever, and it just strangely made me really happy. You know, that name that all cis people have picked out for themselves. As we discussed earlier, the name and chosen pronouns that people have, that just makes them super happy that everybody has. You know, Sigmund Freud is probably like rolling in his grave hearing this stuff. I mean, usually he's rolling in his grave about like the whole like incest theory thing, but he's probably like, wow, my whole analysis of dreams was right. And then there's also just like a lot of other hypotheticals, like, would you press a button for $100,000 and a 1% chance to turn into a girl, and you can press it however many times you want? And I just deathly did not understand why anyone would not just press the button literally as many times as you can, because it's like a positive. And I vividly remember like one of my cis friends, he was just talking about like, I don't know if I would even press it once, dude. Like, the effects of gender dysphoria are horrible. Like, that shit kills people. I'm like, yeah, but like, why wouldn't you just want to be a girl? Like, isn't that just better? It's like, no, I'm a guy. I like being a guy. It's quite nice, actually, and I would not change it. And I'm like, what do you mean? And I mean, there were so many other memories like that, but I'll cut it short for now. Although it took way too long, I eventually began to look at the writing on the wall and was like, wow, that's a lot of signs about this thing I've been thinking about for a while. This thing that kind of got punished out of me for my life. I wonder if there's some truth to all this. There was. Because anytime I thought about my future self, it was me being a woman. And I was like, that's weird. And I still spent so many months trying to convince myself I was not trans. But I literally could not imagine a future for myself where I was either not a woman or worse. So even though I had a lot of reservations about the whole idea of transitioning, because of many reasons, as I've already mentioned, I don't think I'd be able to do voice training, which I think that's how everybody here knows me, actually. Or most of you, at least. Apparently, a lot of you have subscribed for that. I didn't think I'd be able to do voice training and actually go through with it. I did not think I would have a good transition. I don't think I would be able to accomplish the goals I had in mind. And I kind of just thought this might turn out horribly and I may be way more unhappy as a result. But eventually, I was like, okay, I'm either going to live as my true, authentic self, or I'm not going to live at all. Because at the time, life was horrible, honestly. I was extremely, extremely suicidal. I, at that point, had been alive for very many years, only for my friends, and every single day wished that something would kill me. That way, I'm not responsible for my own death. Passive suicidal ideation. Eventually, it's just like, okay, I'm going to try to transition. We'll see if it works out. If it doesn't, I'm gonna take the easy way out, which is not good, and I don't recommend it. And there's so many other things you can do aside from that, of course, even if it doesn't work out properly, but my mental state was so horrible at the time that was my rationale. So I either took the easy way out, or maybe my transition worked out for me in the end, and I would be happy. And I'm glad to say that the latter happened. So eventually I scheduled an appointment with Planned Parenthood and started HRT about 6 months later. For a really long time, things honestly got a lot worse for a bit. All these things that I thought I always felt growing up, like all these people staring at me and, saying like mean stuff or, comments, threats, whatever. It kind of became a reality just because of how hateful people are where I live against trans people. I mean, I'm in a red state, in a very red area in that red state, so it definitely wasn't good. But I still remained with a little bit of hope in me that things would eventually get better, and as I said earlier, it did. But I would still like to show off a little bit of event art that I had created during that time. Title, you would not believe it, is Sometimes Things Must Get Worse Before They Can Get Better. What a shocking title, you could never guessed it. I still really like this piece. I know this is not a new thing that was just invented by me, but that was my motto for such a long time, and it kind of got me through. And while I could talk a lot more about how my transition went and a lot of the trials and tribulations in the midst of it, we're kind of 10 pages into the script by this point, and probably at a really, really long runtime, and I don't want to go over an hour. So, maybe another video if people specifically want to see that. Goes without saying, probably, but I'm extremely happy I did not take my own life. I mean, I'm sure recurring viewers especially can notice just over the months and, even if you go back like years, I'm smiling. I mean, I never showed myself on face before, and now this is basically the only way I show myself. I have so much love for the people and things in my life, like my cat Nigel. I love my girlfriend. I want to continue college, and I really feel like I can do it now, and I see a future for myself that isn't just blank. Everything's so much better. for me. While transitioning is going to be, for some people, a little more supplemental than others, for me, it was absolutely life-saving. I would not say it ridded me of my depression or anxiety or so many other issues I have going on currently, but Jesus Christ, it really helped with it. And I've not been suicidal passively or actively for an extremely long time as a result of my transition. It feels strange to say that in early September of this year, I'm going to be turning 23, which is strange for two reasons. The first, wow, I did not think I would live this long. And two, just everybody thinks I'm 16 at work for some reason. Like, I don't know why, but everybody, I mean, I guess it's not a bad thing, but like, every time I talk to my coworkers about going to college or whatever, they're like, "You're a college student?" And then I tell them I just finished my associate's degree, and they're like, what do you mean? And then I say I'm 22, and they're like, "Dude, I thought you were 17 or 18. So that's just a weird thing for me, but I guess it's a good thing. But it's just so weird nowadays, like, how much happier I am. I mean, as I said a moment ago, I do still struggle from depression and pretty bad anxiety at points, but I feel like I have a life ahead of me that is truly worth living, which is, it feels so weird to be able to say that. It's so weird for me. I've been fidgeting with this thing the whole time, I'm sorry. It feels so weird to me to think that people are just born like this. People are born being comfortable in their body. And I know that cis people experience gender dysphoria too. You know, people don't feel feminine enough or they don't feel masculine enough, but it's so weird that people can just be born not with this intense shame and anxiety in their body, and they can just be happy with what they got. That's really weird. You know, having a will to live and being afraid of death now for me is such a strange concept that I'm still trying to get over. And of course everyone's going to be afraid of death, but it's just different. It's different. I mean, you know, I started writing poetry. I started exercising way more. I've been passing classes with great grades that I never believed ever that I would be smart enough to do before. As I mentioned earlier, I am very much an extrovert now, and you could probably tell because basically every single comment on my YouTube is replied to, except for hate comments. Except for the one person who said you will never be a woman. I mocked that guy because, I mean, dude, like, you gotta be more creative than that. I mean, the guy who called me an abomination, that's creative. But, like, I've heard that you, like, it's so old, it's so boring. But anyway, you'll see that I respond to basically every comment just because I love talking to you people. You guys are all just really pleasant people to talk to, and it makes me so fulfilled with energy just to have this sort of community, and it makes me so happy. And before, I would do everything I can to not talk to people. So it's just so strange. I'm really happy, and I'm very much looking forward to the future. And I kind of wanted to write a poem actually for this video. I haven't showcased any poetry on my channel before, and I'm a little anxious too because it's very vulnerable for me to put my... I'm hesitant to say artwork, but I probably should say artwork. It's hesitant to put myself out there like that, but I want to do it for this video. But I'm still a little shy, so I'm gonna turn off the camera just for this section because I'm a little scaredy cat. But I hope you enjoyed the poem that I wrote for myself, and I hope that you maybe can relate to it at some point too if you're another trans person yourself, or hopefully you already relate to it. Alright, this poem is titled Because of You, and it is dedicated to my pre-transition self. Because of you, when I go outside, all the colors are so much more vibrant and pretty than ever before. All the food I consume is so full of taste and love. Everyone is so warm and pleasant. All my clothes fit me better. Stares are full of admiration, not contempt. Nature is infinitely more beautiful than it has ever been before. Music is so much more real and impactful to me. My tears are no longer suppressed and even flow at times of beauty. And I'm capable of love and care for myself that was previously so foreign to me. It's because of you that I get to live a joyful life. One full of optimism, hope, and a will to live. A life that's lived for myself. One in which I give meaning to by helping others. A life that feels full of excitement and opportunity. A life where the days no longer blur by, and a week now feels like 3. One where silence is truly silent. One where I'm beginning to love myself. I'm sorry that I was unable to be there for you. Unable to thank you for your perseverance and strength to continue on living, even when getting out of bed or hearing your own voice was enough to make you cry. Unable to give you the hugs and validation you so desperately needed when you were at your worst. Unable to tell you that your problems were worth listening to and that you're somebody important. Because of your strength, I get to be the person that you always wished you to be. And you're finally now allowed to rest. Thank you. And I love you. Finally, I'd say that's the last really big part of this video that I want to get out of the way. The rest of this is going to be a lot of thank yous and individually thanking a lot of my friends that were okay with me talking about them. So if you just want to move on from the video, got basically most of the stuff out of the way, and just thank you all so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, I would really appreciate a like on it, or especially a comment if you really feel like it, because I love reading y'all's comments. It makes me so happy. But, you know, no pressure. And if you got this far into the video and you disliked it, feel free to leave a dislike. It's totally okay. And if you got this far into the video, mention one of your own plushies or one of the plushies in the background if you got this far into the video. And I'll be like, I see you, thank you. Thank you for watching. But anyway, yeah, I'm gonna get into the next part. So just thank you all again and see you there. Hold on, I just had to mention, I'm like rewatching these as I do it just to like make sure like, oh, do I have to re-record a part or whatever? I've said like, thanks for watching this part of the video like 6 times during that last clip. I just had to point that out. I have a tendency to repeat myself with certain anchor words like or you know, but I just thought that was especially funny. Okay, so on the topic of thank yous, I'm still in disbelief that like this many people have wanted to see more of me to the point that they would subscribe to the channel. That just, it's so weird to me. I just can't get over it. It's so cool to me that so many people think what I have to say is useful, or they thought it was funny, or why ever they subscribed. That's just really cool to me. And it feels really nice, honestly. So thank you all so much, and here's to the next sub goal. We're gonna go after 5K subscribers. Will we get it? You know, I was gonna say originally, who knows? But at this rate, it kind of seems like it. You know, maybe not anytime soon. Maybe by like the end of next year, maybe. But I don't know. I think we can do it, and I'm really excited to see what happens in the future. And then lastly, as I said before, I wanted to thank a lot of my friends who got me through all these years of strife within myself, and I'm just going to refer to them with the name I either commonly use for them or whatever name that they requested I use. So there's going to be a lot of online aliases here. And for most people, if you want, you can stop watching the video. This part is mostly for my friends, but feel more than free to watch it. I think they deserve to be recognized for everything that they did for me. So here goes. Red Bastard, you make the nastiest sandwiches ever, but you are such a sweet and lovely person, and you find ways to make me laugh all the time. And you always try to be helpful when given the opportunity, and you're just an incredible ally to the LGBT community, and I really love you. Gigi, you've pissed me off so much with countless times with your antics and bullshit on Discord. and it's really funny in hindsight, like when you found a backdoor to the Discord server and gave yourself admin for 16 months without any of us knowing, and you just fucked with people until you eventually got outed to me. But despite that, you've always been extremely, extremely supportive of me, and you know, you've never hesitated to tell me your thoughts on anything, for better and worse, and that transparency and unconditional love is something I really appreciate. Doc, similar to Gigi, you've always given me your honest thoughts in a lot of situations, and I really appreciate it. You two have definitely prevented me from going down some pretty bad routes, like when I was kind of spiraling, or I was kind of being an asshole, honestly, let's be real. I'm sure you remember that. And you've also just found so many ways to make me laugh, and I just respect you a lot for your open-mindedness, and just for being a really cool person. Thank you. Friday, you've always been a person who I felt comfortable going to for a lot of my serious life issues, and just about a lot of deep shit racking my brain, and I really appreciate you giving me that type of outlet, especially when I didn't really have very much of that type of outlet. And although I have a lot more friends who are able to be there for me emotionally, there's still a certain type of benefit I feel like I get by talking to you. And that's something I equally value, so thank you. Also, you're really fucking funny. And Snon, even though we're not really close as we once were, I'm still glad that we had a relationship together. I'm sorry, Nigel's biting a thing. 1 second. Sorry. I'm glad that we had a relationship together and are still friends even past its lifespan. And you were just my best friend for a lot of years and kept me company when I otherwise would have been very isolated. And you allowed me to explore my identity just unconditionally when we were dating, and I think I definitely would have taken a lot longer to figure myself out if I didn't feel safe to do so. So I really appreciate that, and thank you for that. And Sylvia, I want to read out exactly what I wrote for you instead of paraphrasing. You are the love of my life, honey. The amount of respect and admiration I've always had for you has only continued to grow in time, and tenfold since our relationship began. And every day I wake up next to you, I'm just so happy to glance over and see your pretty face with those beautiful emerald green eyes, just lying there. I think about you constantly with all your stupid little jokes and the art projects you undergo, just everything, just... I could be doing something completely unrelated from you, you know, not have seen you in like a day or something like that, and I still think about you constantly and just smile because of how happy you made me. It still feels unreal to be dating you, even though we're now over 2 years into our relationship, and every day I get to spend with you is a good day. Just like today, we had a lovely day at Hot Topic, if you're seeing this in the future. Well, and the mall in general. I gave you a budget to spend stuff on, and you got some awesome jeans, and I bought you Chipotle. Your care and love you extend towards me through always being there for me is just amazing. Surprising me often with gifts or treats, and praising me is always appreciated, and I'm really happy that I get to call you my strange little creature girlfriend. I love you so, so much, Sylvie, and I can't wait to spend the rest of my life with you. Ben, you've always been like an older brother to me, or like that one cool popular person at school who, like, despite their status and like not really having to hang out with me, you still do so, and like I think that's really awesome. Similar to like Rob, you guys are always trying to help me solve issues anytime I come into contact with it, whether it's like a PC thing or a game or whatever. And I just appreciate you, like, always trying to help me in games that like you're well versed in, and how you're always just happy to teach and aid people with stuff. And you're also just really sweet, and I really love you. Just thank you for being my friend. Aaron, like a lot of the others here, I know that we don't really talk as much anymore, and, you know, that kind of sucks. But despite your life circumstances, you've always been such a positive and upbeat person, and have kind of been a role model to me that has inspired me a lot. And you have such a funny and charismatic personality despite life constantly trying to tear you down, it feels like. And I just really appreciate you, and I find that really admirable that you still are just such an awesome person despite that. For Jasmine from Serenity System, girl, I don't even know where to begin. First, I mean, the fact that you continue to be such an empathetic and sympathetic individual despite always going through shit. I mean, like, I don't know how you stay positive and how you are almost always there for people despite everything. Even with just the water allergy, I would be bitching so much. But I mean, you have that, you have a fucking heat allergy, you have a fucking cold allergy, you have like 30 fucking other things, and you still don't let it get you down. I don't know how you do it. And I don't know if I would be able to persevere in your shoes, but you do. And that's awesome. I really appreciate you always taking care of everybody around you and for being a really sweet person, and you're awesome. Also, you have a great taste in games, but you do like sour cream. It's kind of nasty, so I'm gonna have to deduct like half the points I just gave you. Zinnia, like Aaron and Jasmine, despite everything that life's thrown at you, you've basically forever been a positive influence in the lives of basically everybody that you meet, for being real. And I respect you so fucking much for that. You're always the first to take your shirt off your back if it means helping another person and sparing someone else from the harm and suffering that you could have undergone. And you just have a very big caring and nurturing, you know, whole thing about you. I also really like it when we have a brain cell moment and we say the same thing at the same time, like twice a week. It makes me really happy. Also, you're a really cool builder in Minecraft, and I think that's super cool. Turtle, you've always been one of the most validating cis allies I've ever had the pleasure of knowing, and your unconditional acceptance of me has made me feel safe to tell you really anything. I also really really like your Discord Ace Attorney videos that you make, or stupid conversations we have, and you're also just like one of the funniest people I know. Jordan, your silly cat videos please me very much, as well as all your funny stories from substituting in schools. Like actually, I'm not sure if I'm allowed to say it, but there's some funny stories. You also give me a lot to think about with your like really profound views on just society and sociology, and I think that's super cool. And I really value those conversations with you, even if they're a bit infrequent. Xanth, similarly to Turtle, you've always been one of my most supportive and validating cis allies, and have always made me feel really pretty and special, and I really appreciate that, especially when I could barely view myself in the mirror without being really upset. You're also super open-minded to trying out new stuff and never shy away from speaking your truth, and I really respect that a lot about you too. Rowan, you've always been a really cool tech gal that I know to call up like anytime I need help with my PC, like whatsoever. And I also really enjoy getting to talk to you about the Binding of Isaac and just other random stuff. I also like the snap gifts that you send a lot. Hitch, although we've met a lot more recently than the rest of the individuals listed here, you've been another incredible cis ally to me, and I've always felt really listened to and understood by you, and just have felt very safe opening up to you. I also really enjoy our dynamic in regards to humor, and I love all your random strange objects that you own, like your fishing hat brim that goes like this fucking wide out for some reason. And you talking about Han is like the cutest thing ever, and I love y'all's relationship so much. It is so adorable. Brad, we don't really get to talk very much like a lot of my other guy friends nowadays, but you've always been really funny to me, and are somewhat of an anomaly by the way that Gigi and Duck make you out to be nowadays. And I really cherish your friendship and jokes a lot, and just, you're always a pleasure to be around. But, I mean, I do see why they think you're like a little off in the head when you were listening to classical music when you were playing Skyblock, High Pixel Skyblock, and just grinding zealots for like way too long every day. And Pango, as another delightful cis ally, you helped me explore my identity when I still felt bad to ask people to tell me my preferred pronouns. I remember I was going by like any, all, and then I tried to go by he, she, and every time motherfuckers would always say he, they'd never try she. I was like, this makes me very upset. And I appreciate you expediting my process of self-acceptance and discovery by allowing me to experiment and just giving me a safe space to actually experiment with stuff when I felt like too much of a pussy to put she, her in my bio, because I felt like I was being too assertive and mean to people, even though that is a very basic request. A basic request that not many other people were really doing for me. Also, you're really awesome for showing me Scott Pilgrim. That movie is so fucking funny. I kind of want to rewatch it, honestly. Tara, I've known you for a very short period of my life, but you've done so much for me and helping me feel free to be who I really am, and I love you so much for that. I remember getting close with you when I was super early in my transition, and even though I always felt really awful and disgusting in my body, you always seemed to find beauty in it, like you find beauty in everything. And it just made me feel really nice and loved when I really needed validation more than anything. You're also the main reason I got into Vocaloid and have discovered literally hundreds of songs now, and 2 games that I really liked on the DS and now PC, like the Hatsune Miku games. And there's just a lot of self-expression that has come from that music scene, and I really appreciate it. And thank you just so much for helping with my transition and continuously validating me, but still being realistic and giving me encouragement to keep on going despite what I felt like was a bleak outlook for the rest of my life. Will, I fucking hate you for liking Weezer. But on a serious note, you've always been a good friend to me, and our dynamic when we're together is a very unique one for me, and I really value it. I find myself laughing basically always when I spend time with you, and I love that you don't give a single shit about what I have to say about your music taste or your art style and stuff. I think that's awesome, man. I love that you don't pay attention to me hating. I think it's awesome. And I hope we can play Left 4 Dead 2 sometime again, or something fun like that. Like Pitch Ava, I've only known you for a pretty short period of time compared to everybody else here, but in that time, I've found a lot of relatability in a lot of the issues I've faced in my transition and just with the greater LGBT community, as well as other communities as well, like, you know, society as a whole. And, you know, I really appreciate that. And I appreciate you likewise being vulnerable and sharing a lot of your stuff with me. And it's just nice to find that relatability in each other. I also really like your idiosyncratic phrases and just random references to like plays and other art forms. You've given me a massive list of things to read and look at, and I'm really excited to do that. And it's also just really nice leaving VCs with you and just thinking about a lot of the stuff that you say. Oria, just like Ava, I kind of met you around the same time as her, but you've given me a lot of joy in your company and just the ways that you interact with others. You've always been a pleasure to just play any games with, and you always have like the best takes ever. Except when you said you liked sour cream, I think. I don't actually know if you liked sour cream, but I'm pretty sure you said you do. And I don't know. You know, I just, sometimes I feel like I gotta talk to a real one, and when I gotta talk to a real one, I know who I have to pull up. It's you. I also really like your grub drinking apple juice emoji. Ethan, you were always so awesome for not giving a shit about what's cringe and what isn't, and dude, that's awesome as hell. I have a lot of respect for you. I wish I knew that earlier. I love you, and don't let anyone tell you how you're supposed to act. You just be you. Sometimes in all that painful pun glory. Your unconditional acceptance of me as well has of course been highly valued and appreciated, and I've always felt very safe talking to you, and you're also just really generous and mature, and I wish that we had more time to hang out more with each other. Lucas, you are a strange creature, and you know, really not in an endearing way, but I love it regardless. You definitely compose some of these sentences of all time, and, you know, sometimes I wish you kept it to yourself. I really do. But your humor does make me laugh a lot, as absurd as absurd as it is. And you're also really good at making stuff in Minecraft, and I think that's super cool. Ashlyn, I hate you for liking Chipotle more than Moe's. Although it is pretty good. I actually had some of Sylvia's today. It was... I kind of have to admit it was kind of good. While I disrespect some of your life choices that you've made for yourself, Chipotle. I appreciate that you've always been a friend of me that I can constantly be cracking jokes with, like, every fucking second of hanging out with you. And, when we used to work together, that was the best thing ever, and it got me through so many tough shifts. For this next individual, I will also read off exactly as I wrote it. I'm not going to mention you by name, and I highly doubt that you're watching this video, but if you are, then you absolutely know who you are. And although we've been a bit estranged for some time now, and I don't intend on changing that, I do still feel like I owe it to you to mention how you helped me come to accept myself. You definitely played a big role in helping me accept myself as a trans woman and provided me a lot of support when I didn't really have very many people I could go to for my trans-specific issues, and I do appreciate that a lot from you. Additionally, you pushed me out of my comfort zone a lot to further my transition and do things that might have taken me a lot longer to go through with, and I do thank you for that. With all that said, I'm intending to wrap this video up now. Thank you all so much for watching. If you got even this far into the video, that's like number 7. And, if you'd like to see more of me, feel more than free to subscribe and like the video, or dislike it if you got this far and you somehow made it all the way to the end and you're like, man, this shit sucks. But yeah, thank you all so much. Next, part 2 of my trans tips video is coming real soon, or so I hope. We will see with my work schedule, but I intend to make it in the next like month or so. Thank you.